All right, kids, getting closer to the finish line here. Today, we are visiting episode number 4 in our 7th segment regarding timelines. This particular one is falling on you to understand the time sensitivity with document submission that are falling on the shoulders of the seller. So there are several critical pieces of information that have to be provided to all the parties involved to legally get your transaction across that threshold and allow you to visit the closing table. Now, these are typically handled by a real estate professional, but you don't need no stinking realtor, so we're going to educate you on everything you need to know to navigate the timeline, specifically the time sensitivity around these documents and how to not screw yourself in doing them too early, too late, or not at all in the wrong fashion and delaying your own closing. So let's talk first about the smoke certificate. This is regarding your smoke carbon monoxide safety equipment. This is something that is facilitated by your local fire department. But again, visiting the temporal consequences with trying to get this thing done. Every fire department is different. The way in which you request or schedule a smoke certificate inspection for each municipality is completely different. Some fire departments are overwhelmed and very difficult to deal with because maybe there's a high population density in your area and they don't have the manpower to get everything done in a streamlined fashion. Maybe you're in a very rural setting and it's tough to get on the schedule because they have one person working at that desk and maybe they're on vacation until next Tuesday. Whatever the case may be, you need to get ahead of this information. In addition, all of the local fire codes are different depending on where you live, where your smoke detectors need to be in your home, how many of them you might need, how many carbon monoxide detectors you might need. Can they be combination fire and carbon monoxide smoke detectors, or do they need to be separate? Do you need one on each level of your home? Do you need a smoke detector and a carbon monoxide detector within a certain distance of your heating equipment and other mechanical equipment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is different in every municipality. And you need to understand it well ahead of time. So I would encourage you to understand at least the code and the nature of how to schedule your smoke inspection really previous to even marketing your house. This is something that you got to get ahead of. Now, it would make sense if you were able to just purely go ahead and get your smoke certificate before you even market the house. That way you know it's done. However, that presents a problem in and of itself, being that there's going to be a large amount of time that elapses between your marketing the house and actually selling it. And most attorneys and government oversight bodies are not going to accept a smoke certificate that is too old, been done too far in the past relative to the closing date. So you really want this smoke certificate to be issued within 2 weeks of closing. And it's a difficult thing to manage, a difficult thing to get right, to make it fall within that timeline. But you know what to do because you're watching these videos and you don't need no stinking realtor. So get cozy with whomever it is that's answering the phone at your local fire department. Understand the protocols on how to actually schedule your smoke certificate and understand all the local fire code, how it relates to where your fire safety detection equipment needs to be present. Now, if you are unable to do those things, a very short and maybe easy way to get the information you need without having to study books on local fire code is to just pay the local fire department for a smoke inspection. That's yes, early, and yes, that smoke inspection certificate won't be usable to you for the closing, but it is kind of a shortcut in getting the information you need to be compliant. So $30 to $60, maybe more in your municipality. It's different everywhere, but something maybe in that range. You spend that, you schedule the fire department to come out, they show up, they say, hey, this is wrong, this smoke detector's too old. A lot of places, the age of the smoke detector is important. Obviously, it needs to be up to current code. They'll tell you exactly what you need to do to comply to get to a winning approved smoke certificate. And then all you've got to do is buy the equipment, install it, or have it installed by somebody, and it'll be the way it needs to be when you schedule your next smoke certificate. You've got to pay the fire department again, but for some people who don't like to read, maybe it's an easy way to avoid having to study and potentially be wrong even after you've tried to interpret the fire code. You can do it that way as well. Understand that there may be cost involved that is beyond just buying another battery-operated smoke detector. If you potentially have a multifamily or a property that has wired smoke detectors, which are both battery and hardwired. Most building code today necessitates wired smoke detectors, so if you've done any work in your house in recent past and had those smoke detectors wired, any new smoke detectors that you have to add to satisfy modern code will have to be wired as well, which comes with a heavier cost, et cetera, et cetera. Again, all things that your real estate professional would help you understand and manage and get complete, but you're going to do this one on your own. Next is fuel adjustments. So obviously there are many different types of fuel: oil, propane, natural gas, wood burning, you name it. There are fuel adjustments that need to be made on the closing disclosures that you expect the buyer to repay you for. If you take oil-fired heating systems, for example, you have a large tank and some very valuable fuel in that tank. If you've got half a tank of oil in your tank, by the time you're going to closing, you expect the buyer to pay for that. It's not just going to be on you, like, here, have a few $100s, maybe $1,000 worth of free heating oil. But it's up to you to provide a fuel adjustment certificate, and know your eyeballing of the fuel gauge on your oil tank is not going to be sufficient to provide to an attorney in order for you to get repaid for that. So you've got to invite an oil company out to interpret the measurement, even though it's pretty obvious, isn't it, on your gauge, and then they're going to issue a formal document, a fuel adjustment document that you can be handing to an attorney to help you get repaid for your fuel. Now, obviously, there's a time sensitivity in this as well. You can't take a fuel adjustment 6 weeks before closing in the middle of winter and expect to be repaid for that full tank of oil. You've got to get this fuel adjustment scheduled within a week of closing, sometimes even less, for an attorney to say, okay, this is reasonable for my buyer, my client, to repay you. If it's even 2 weeks previous, and especially in winter, you can burn a hell of a lot of fuel oil in that time. Nobody's going to repay you for fuel oil that you've already used. Same with your propane tanks, same with your cord of wood that's been stacked. All of these things need to be appropriately documented at the appropriate time for you to get repaid for it. You get the idea. Next is your water meter reading. Same deal. If you've got town or city municipal water flowing to your home, there's going to be a meter reading that takes place so that you're paying for the water that's being used while you're there. The buyer is going to be paying for anything above and beyond after they've taken occupancy of the house. Same deal, got to be done very close to the time of closing. Fortunately for you, this one can be simply a photograph of your meter and the numbers on it. Note to people who have less information on meters than others, most of them these days come with a little solar strip on it. You're just going to shine a flashlight or your cell phone flashlight on that strip to get the meter to produce a number, which you can then take a photograph of. A lot of people miss that, and causes them extra expense in their real estate transactions to think their meter is broken, but it isn't. Other cases, there are municipalities around where your meter is not available to you to read. You have to invite the town out to do that meter reading. Same thing. You got to make sure that you're scheduling to get the municipal authority out to read that meter on your behalf and issue that document. But most places these days will allow you to read your own meter. Now, last and certainly not least is your mortgage payoff document. Your attorney typically is going to order this for you, but they need your permission to do so. They can't call the bank without your permission. There's a form that you need to sign with your attorney. If your attorney's proactive, they're doing so without you having to nag them, but we all understand again that it is on you. You are the orchestrator. You're pulling the puppet strings here. Typically that would fall on your realtor to handle. That is our job, to make sure everybody's doing everything they need to in a short amount of time as possible, but you are doing that now in tandem with packing your whole life and doing one of the most stressful things a human being can do in their entire lifetime, which is sell, home, and move. But you got this because you have an unlimited wealth of knowledge in our video segments that you can just go back and watch over and over again. We hope you do. We'd love to see your questions, comments, and sharing of your experiences down in the comment section below. If you are enjoying this content and you're getting the alpha that you hoped to get when you saw the title of these videos, like and subscribe, give us a share, and we'll see you on the last and final segment, number 5. See you there.